Oh,
Where are we going now?
Sri Lanka by the look of it.
Oh, lovely.
What's your name?
I'm Natalie.
I'm Robin.
So you are. So Sri Lanka. It's got a population of 22 million people. The capital's Colombo, which has 2.3 million people. Here we are in a very nice colonial-style hotel called the Mount Lavinia, which is near Colombo. We stayed there. They had the most wonderful breakfast.
Fantastic breakfast.
Curry is a great way to start the day. And it was a beautiful place. Very nice.
Sort of very decadent. Very decadent. You could have a prawn curry in the cafe, in the sand, on the beach. So it was a good
Here's
place to
some
stay.
of Sri Lanka's crazy traffic, which was quite memorable.
And some high-speed jackfruit.
And here we are in a Buddhist temple. Do you know 70% of the people in Sri Lanka are Buddhist?
No.
12% are Hindus,
Really?
9% are Muslims, 7.5% Christian, mostly Roman Catholic, and there's even some Zoroastrians.
Gosh.
But the majority are Buddhists. And here we are with some little ghee lamp offerings in a Buddhist temple.
I wonder how many you don't know.
Well, no, they're pretty...
Or Jedi.
They're pretty religious, I think, and it's important to them. That's why they have all those walls. Now, these little ghee lamps that they place on the altars, apparently they're believed to bring prosperity. I don't know whether it's to the temple or to the people that light the lamp. Here we are in a railway station. I believe there's some very beautiful scenic journeys you can make on the train in Sri Lanka.
And here's the timetable.
All the places you can go.
All in Sinhala. So it's not a very well developed system, but it's improved a lot since I was there 30 years ago.
And then you can also get a boat. These are fishing boats, I think.
These are, they're replacing them. A lot of these fishing boats were destroyed in the tsunami.
In 2004.
Yeah, so along the west coast you see these boat builders' yards, amazingly colourful. They're not shy of bright colours, are they, in Sri Lanka?
No. So Negombo, it's close to the international airport and about 38 k's from Colombo itself. It's quite a commercial centre, and anyway, you can tell us about these waterways.
Well, this is a canal. This is called the Dutch Canal.
And you said it wasn't built by the Dutch?
Well, it was built by the British, yes, and it has a number of different names, but they built it as a communication thing around the back of the lagoon, all the way down to Colombo. And in this stretch, you can just hire a boatman, and he'll take you from the back of the hotel, literally about 4 kilometres down the canal, and then here out into the lagoon. And the lagoon supports a huge fishing fleet. That go out into deep water, out into the main ocean. But the lagoon itself is about 5 or 10 metres deep. It's not terribly deep, I believe.
And there's quite a lot of wildlife.
A lot of wildlife. So you go over to the impossible to pronounce named wetlands, which are full of mangroves, as you can see here. Here's a fellow with his dugout canoe. It's very basic, but some of the boats are quite large.
I think it's a very tough way to make a living.
Very tough. And we just narrowly missed the fish market. There's a humongous fish market on the beach. And of course, we arrived on the day that they didn't have one.
A lot of the Sri Lankans are quite poor. I believe the annual household income is in the vicinity of $1,400 US.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot for a
but,
whole family.
It's improved a lot over the years, but still could do.
Way to go. So here's some of the beautiful birds.
So a lot of birds you can see along the canal. The Hamilton Canal, as the British called it. A white heron. Thought long and hard about naming that one. And these very beautiful but very creepy water monitors that were 2.5, 3 foot, 3.5 feet, and they just sort of swim across the river in front of you.
They're not as creepy as the crocodile.
Well, no, but they've got a sort of a slightly alien look to them. And here's a kingfisher that's built its nest in the bank of the river, of the canal, which is...
That's a beautiful lizard.
Yeah. And a grey heron, so not quite as bright as a white heron, but a beautiful, quite a big heron, I think.
So I suppose all these birds eat the little fish that are born in the mangroves.
They do. They're very...
and crustaceans and so on.
Yeah, common sandpiper, again, which is really nice.
This one's lovely.
The cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Yeah, beautiful, very angry-looking bird. But
it doesn't look like a fish-eating bird.
No, it's...
here's a monkey.
It's more like a cuckoo, I think.
Right. Toque.
So once in the wetlands, we cruise up and down sort of canals or channels of mangroves, and then we just parked, and these monkeys just appeared out of nowhere.
As they do.
As they do, straight out of the beauty parlour, with their sort of...
I think they need to go back.
Boxer's ears, yes.
Cauliflower ears.
Yeah, cauliflower ears and strange black lips. Very strange looking animals.
So it's a huge lagoon.
It's massive. It's massive.
Like
so here we are motoring back, and as you'd expect, they usually kick up a few bits of interesting, maybe sea life, maybe prawns or shrimps or something. So these terns follow you, and it was a good practice for me anyway to photograph birds in flight because it's very, very difficult. Lovely. And I'm not going to reveal how many pictures I took, but I got 3 or 4 quite nice ones. As you can see here, but that's the advantage of digital photography, of course. You don't have to pay for film.
Delete your mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes? No, surely not.
Learning.
No mistakes are made in this video.
Bartolom. What's that?
It is Bartolom. Well, this is another lagoon, massive lagoon north of Negombo, basically on the way to Anurapura. I mean, the reason you go there is because of these wind farms. You had a look at the wind farms; they're pretty impressive, and of course the salt pans, and these are bags of salt waiting to go to export, I suppose. And you can see it's pretty comprehensive and very smelly. And the whole place is just cut up and segmented into these salt pans.
So they allow the water to evaporate.
Evaporative
salt
making, I suppose. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of interesting.
Way of doing it.
Yeah. And it's funny that it ends up as the white stuff on your curry.
Anurapura.
So finally we get to Anurapura.
So this was one of the ancient capitals, wasn't it?
Yep.
Lots of Buddhist stupas and temples.
And grey langas.
Languidly posing langur. And here are more of those macaque monkeys.
So very, very surprised looking macaques. They sort of look a bit sad.
Yeah. Oh well.
Some temple offerings, very beautiful flowers that you can buy for 100 rupees, Sri Lankan rupees.
And there's some amazingly vivid Buddhist temples here that were just gobsmackingly brightly coloured.
I guess this is the reclining Buddha.
I suppose.
Yeah. And
it's a bit drowsy. This is the ceiling.
Yeah,
it's just so vividly painted.
It's almost as if you have to turn the colour down when you're editing this stuff because it's so bright. And again, here's a little temple that's stuck on top of a rock, and you go in through this doorway and kind of round the back.
They have a habit of sticking things on top of rocks.
They do, yes, they do. And more temple offerings. Here's another very big stupa, one of the main stupa. And you can see these 2 men climbing up that very safe-looking ladder. Goodness me. And here's another temple on top of the rock.
So is this a water reservoir, do you think?
It's a tank, yes.
Yeah. Here's some of the temple
and some offerings, yeah.
And often elephant statues. The elephants play a great ceremonial role in the temples. Is this somewhere you stayed?
This is one of the resorts I've stayed in, which is quite nice. Here's a little cattle egret checking out the...
A long way from any cattle.
Well, it is, yeah, but it's got a good view of all the humans, I suppose. Here's some more, I think these are water lilies, or lotus lilies, and there's a lotus lily carved. Beautiful shot. Oh, another one of your shots here, very good. So quite stunning. Here's a little token of good luck. But it
was very hot, and it was good to have an ice cream van at hand.
To have a raspberry zinger. And this is an Anurapura hotel, and of course you're sitting in the coffee shop, and the monkeys just appear out of nowhere. And most of these hotels have to employ somebody with a stick to run around and chase them away, because otherwise they just steal the sugar and the
Dambulla was an interesting place.
So what's Dambulla's? What's this? Is sort of in central.
This is areas famous for cave temples, and in the 1st century BC, King Valagambahu fled a Tamil invasion of his kingdom at Anurapura and hid in these caves.
Oh, right.
And he was successful in throwing out the invaders, and in gratitude, after he regained his capital city, he built a temple in these caves where he'd been hiding, and subsequent kings, his descendants, added to the temple complex such that there's now about 5 big cave temples that are very richly decorated with statues of Buddha and beautiful frescoes and gilding and all sorts of decoration.
No shortage of statues there.
No, and there's a monastery that runs on this site, and it's under UNESCO protection, and there's some restoration work apparently underway, but it's quite a stunning place.
It is. It's a bit of a flog up the steps, isn't it?
And challenging to photograph.
Challenging to photograph. You need a tripod.
You do.
And possibly a flash. And a spot of jiff and a soft cloth wouldn't help. Wouldn't go far. Well... There's a massive 3-headed cobra.
It's not too bad for something that's been there since the 1st century BC.
BC.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I suppose not all these things are that old, but that's when it was begun. So, it's pretty old. So we're looking across the plains.
This is the view from our hotel swimming pool to Sigiriya, the rock fortress, another UNESCO construction, which is quite extraordinary.
So Sigiriya is also known as the Lion Rock, and it's in the central part. It was an ancient rock fortress built by another king, King Kasapa, in the 1400s. Now, he was a bit of a devil, and he'd killed his father in order to gain power. He was at war with his brother.
Grief.
So he wanted to build a palace on top of this 200-metre high rock.
Look at the health and safety here. Wow. So he
built his palace on top of this 200-metre high rock, and on the flat area around the bottom there are beautiful landscaped gardens, but it was quite an undertaking.
Crawling with ground squirrels. You remember those big ground squirrels?
Yeah, some of them are quite big. So there's a gallery of frescoes, which is very famous.
And this is how you get up to it.
That's right.
And down.
Yeah, and originally there were apparently about 500 of these
really
fresco paintings of semi-naked, implausibly large-breasted women. But damage has occurred, and there's now only about 18 or 20 of them. And they're protected, but they're really quite stunning.
They're stunning. They're quite amazing. And this is a symbol of Sri Lanka, I think it's used. This is called graffiti wall, where some graffiti was left, again, centuries ago, in the stucco, or whatever it is they use to cover the wall. And then you continue up through the lion's paws onto this very dodgy-looking climb.
Yeah,
with minimum
a stunning view, so you can expect the remains of the palace.
There's a bit of a fence, yeah.
So that was a water reservoir, I suppose.
Yeah. The king's swimming pool. So you get a stunning view, and
apparently
well worth the
in the days when it was inhabited, there was a moat with crocodiles around.
Oh right, well that's what I do.
But the food in Sri Lanka is pretty notable.
It was very hot and spicy.
It was, and delicious. So what would you say are your favourite dishes?
Curry and rice.
No, they call it rice and curry.
Oh, rice and curry.
Rice and curry.
So here we are having a cooking demonstration at a tented campment in Yala, and here's some spices, turmeric and chili powder and salt and black pepper and cinnamon and cumin, and cooking. What are these things?
These are hoppers.
Hoppers.
Hoppers are a pancake made out of fermented rice flour.
Fantastic
and
breakfast.
Fill them
breakfast
with curry
food,
and with eggs and dal. Sambals. Delicious.
An awful lot of coconut milk. So here are some pictures of various breakfasts and lunches that we've had.
Lots of lovely fresh tropical fruit.
So the vegetarian food is fantastic. This is even beetroot curry in this one, as you can see in the top of the plate
and some
there.
dal and some beans.
Very nice. A fried egg in the egg hopper is very good. Lots of pickles, mango.
It's very spicy.
And very spicy. Crab curry, which is insanely spicy, I seem to remember.
So there's a lot of seafood eaten in Sri Lanka. Yeah. So this is a famous dish. This is curd and treacle, buffalo curd and treacle made of palm sap.
So excellent if the curry, you find the curry's a little bit on the hot side. You grab a bowl of that stuff and it cools you down. So a variety of things. Here are some idli, some short eats and some curry sauces. An unusual, actually, chicken curry. You don't see an awful lot of, I have to say.
But it's good. This is one of the chefs.
Yeah, a young lady dealing out the breakfast hoppers.
We visited a couple of markets, didn't we?
This is at Nuwara Eliya, and the cakey shop, yum, and a snacky shop with vadai. I'm getting hungry. Vadai and samosas.
Some special red rice.
And red rice, which is delicious. This was actually lunch we had in Jeffrey Barwer's house, which we'll see later. Yeah, and this is a thali I had in a hotel. This is some hoppers that I had in a local stall, and very colourful, very delicious, and some more curd and treacle. I got a bit addicted to curd and treacle, I have to say.
Easily done.
Easily done, and some string hoppers there that look like sort of vermicelli, which is very nice.
More snacks.
And these are snacks, so these are called, I think, shorties. Really, sort of you basically
quite a variety, aren't they?
Basically just take them away, and they give you some red hot sauce to go with it. What's this?
Then we visited a spice garden.
That's right.
So this is some cinnamon bark. Some cardamom pods.
Yummy.
This is cacao, I think.
So this is chocolate.
Chocolate in the making.
Chocolate on a tree. What's that?
And these are immature cloves. So they're still green.
And here's the roller that you use to roll it out.
They grind the spices. And here it is being used in a delicious
in a crock pot. using an open fire. And
here we are at lunch.
There's Robin just about to tuck in.
Masala dosa.
Masala dosa.
Was that in Kandy?
It was in Kandy.
Yeah.
This is
rice and curry.
This is rice and curry, not curry and rice.
No.
Now this was interesting. This is up in the hill country, and these are very hard sort of chapati
sort of rusky things.
Very rusky things, yeah. So the view as you're driving up to Nuwara Eliya.
Oh, this is a jackfruit. So did you know that the jackfruit is a national fruit of Sri Lanka, and it's the largest fruit in the world? They can weigh up to 36 kilos.
36 kilos.
So this is a place we stayed in Kandy.
It's called the Mansion or the Mansion House?
Mansion House. It was originally the private home of a wealthy family. It was built in the early 1920s, and all the furniture was specially built to go in the house.
I think ebony and ivory, wasn't it?
Yeah, teak. And other local timbers. Famous people have stayed there before it became a hotel. Mahatma Gandhi and Gregory Peck among them.
But not at the same time, I'm assuming.
I'm not sure. I don't know. There would have been enough room. But it was
the only problem with
place.
this place was the beds were a little bit on the hard side, and they didn't sell alcohol.
The Frenchman was very upset.
There was a Frenchman there who was demanding to have the beer, and they
offered him ginger beer.
Ginger beer, and he said, "Where is the alcohol?" So he got a bit upset.
We could cope.
We could cope, yeah. And here's some lovely. These are the paddy fields around. Then we trek into Kandy itself.
So Kandy is a former capital of Sri Lanka, isn't it?
It is up in the sort of hill country.
And it's got this famous temple complex called the Temple of the Tooth, which is also recognised.
And it's built around the lake
as a World Heritage site by UNESCO, and apparently it houses Buddha's tooth in a shrine inside, and it's highly treasured. Legend has it that whoever holds this holy relic will have power in Sri Lanka, and so there's a lot of protection.
I think it's
every Wednesday.
Go on.
Every Wednesday, I believe, the tooth is taken out of its little sanctuary and ritually bathed in a herbal preparation, which is then subsequently distributed to all the worshippers, and it's supposed to do them a power of good. Interestingly, and perhaps because of the significance of the tooth, the temple's been bombed twice. The most recently was in 1998 by the Tamil Tigers.
Yes.
But each time they fully restore it as soon as they possibly can. So what are these flowers?
I think these are flowers from the cannonball tree. Very exotic.
Oh, that's
where the tooth is.
Sanctum.
That's where the tooth is. Yes.
Yeah. Here's some beautiful water lilies.
Absolutely stunning. So you can buy these for 100 rupees. Here is a geezer on the drums, just banging off a little bit of a rhythm.
Another temple offering.
Beautiful, sitting on its cardboard carrier that they use.
So here we are in the legal district. Everyone, you've got to advertise. It pays to advertise.
So if you get into trouble in Sri Lanka, you need to ring up Mr. Da Silva.
So
Garrison Cemetery.
Very close to the Temple of the Tooth is this Kandy Garrison Cemetery, and it was built or started to bury British nationals who died in the colony. It was opened in 1817. The commonest cause of death for most of the inhabitants of this cemetery was tropical disease such as malaria or cholera, but there was one person who was killed by wild elephants.
Mr. Spottiswoode Robertson.
That's right. And
in
who else might be
1856. Buried there? Well, quite a few people. 158 graves, I think there are, more or less. Here's somebody from King Yusi in Scotland, I think.
Oh.
There was a James McGlashan who died in 1817, and he actually had fought at Waterloo and Busaco and Albuera. So he'd had a bit of a history as a soldier, and
he's a hero.
He walked from Trincomalee across rivers and jungle and was just completely drenched and ignored everybody's advice about not getting cold and not getting a chill or not being bothered by bugs. And he arrived in Kandy and died.
With it malaria?
With malaria, yeah, but he died with manly fortitude, as the records say.
Oh, well.
I don't quite know what that means, but yeah, he just keeled over.
So here's the lake.
So Kandy's built around a lake which is scenic.
Scenic.
It's very scenic. And up one end of the lake is a sort of display hall where you can go and watch
traditional dancing.
A
cultural show.
And so it's a little bit touristy, but
very colourful. And exciting.
And the smell of burning flesh.
Oh, stop it. So they're very much into percussion. Lots of drumming, lots of banging, a few cymbals. And
I think this guy's moonlighting from the Temple of the Tooth.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And the lovely, lovely dancing of the ladies. Now, this dance looks like it's inspired by tea picking. So the ladies who pick the tea in the tea plantations have these baskets on their back and very delicately toss is it the top 2 leaves?
Yes, the new shoots, yep. Sponsored by PG Tips, no doubt. Or, as we'll see, by Mackwoods.
And very smiley.
So very smiley. It was a good evening. It was well
great.
worth doing. And I've done it a couple of times, and this was certainly the best.
I wasn't so keen on the walking on hot coals.
No.
The fire eating was pretty exciting, but hot coals.
Fire eating is not very good for the digestion, I don't think.
I think it's a bit of an illusion.
Is it?
I don't know.
It's all
I
hot air, isn't it? Really?
Try.
Yeah.
Habarana.
So we move on to Habarana, which is near Dambulla, and apparently they have some quite big animals there that you can have a little bit of a ride on. And what was really funny about this is you go, I don't know, a kilometre around this lake, is halfway round there's a man standing next to a tree selling bananas.
And the elephants know.
Is the elephant going, give me a banana, give me a banana. I want a banana. So we did.
There's one of the tourists right now.
There's one of the tourists trying to make friends with the elephant.
So do you know
Why have they got that sort of pinkish...
Well, this is very interesting. There are Asian elephants and African elephants. And Asian elephants have 3 subspecies. There's Sri Lankan, Indian and Sumatran. And the Sri Lankan ones, interestingly, are a bit larger and darker than the other Asian ones. And they have these patches of depigmentation quite often, which looks like what in humans we would call vitiligo. But they're quite distinctive with that. They also have more of a curved spine and smaller ears. Compared to the African elephant, however, the Asian ones, the female Asian ones don't have tusks as a rule, but the male ones that do have tusks have longer and heavier tusks.
They're big, aren't they? Yes, they're very big.
And another interesting fact, you know that the penalty for killing an elephant in Sri Lanka is the death penalty.
So it should be.
Yeah.
So it should be.
So generally they're treated with a lot of respect and given ceremonial roles in temples and so on, but unfortunately there is a loss of habitat and competition with humans for land and so on. So
this guy's pushing him around,
it's difficult. So these are young male elephants. They don't have tusks yet, but they're getting a bit frisky and practicing fighting because their lives are going to be a bit competitive, I believe.
Quite possibly. Minaria is a really good place to see elephants, though. And they sort of migrate south according to the season, I suppose, the rain, the amount of water. There are a couple of huge tanks, man-made reservoirs in Minaria. And as you can see, it's a little bit like an African safari.
So the tank in Minaria was actually constructed by one of the early rulers of Anurapura centuries, in the 3rd century AD.
Good grief.
And it's been really good for irrigating agriculture in that area, but also it means there's a steady water supply for the animals and also a lot of water birds, which were good to see in photographs.
It's a term unique to Sri Lanka, isn't it? The tank.
I believe there are other uses of the word.
Well, water tank. We're talking about water tanks here. Yeah, so I don't think they use it anywhere else to describe the sort of reservoirs. This is just this elephant's just being a nuisance.
He is.
There's one in every
crowd,
isn't there? He's just a bloody nuisance. Let go of my leg. And because there was a herd of probably 20 elephants behind where we're standing, and they were just kind of standing around doing nothing. So I thought I'd photograph or
that
film.
Went on for a long time. Yeah.
It did. They just carried on and on. I think it's time to go home and have curry and rice.
So another characteristic of the Sri Lankan elephants, I think, is this little forward bend in the top of the ear.
It's like a crinkle.
Quite cute. Yeah.
Like a crinkled ear.
Yeah. But they're quite sweet.
Yep, it's time to leave Minaria.
Where are we going next?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a bit of a surprise. But I think we're going to go to
Nuwara Eliya. So this is in the Central Highlands, and it's relatively cooler there. Here's a Tudor mansion. Just happened to
very nice hotel. And here's the man who sells you tea in the hotel.
Because this area, of course, is very important for tea production. And high-quality tea is grown in the Highlands.
The high estate tea, isn't it?
Yes, there's a train.
So you can catch a local train from Nuwara Eliya to this place called Nuwara, or Kandy rather, sort of Kandy to Nuwara. And it was great fun, and it seemed to be the only people on this train were foreigners in the restroom. But it was a bit of a nice way to see. Here's the second-class gents' restroom to see a bit of the countryside, which you don't.
Wouldn't they let you into the first-class one?
No, there
wasn't one.
No. Well, you've got to pay your money, you know. So this is the way you ride local trains in Sri Lanka. You hang out the door. Next best beverage to water.
So, of course, tea is a major export industry in Sri Lanka. By virtue of the humidity and the high rainfall, it grows very well. Indirectly or directly, it employs more than 1 million people.
Wow.
Many of them are women, and the working conditions aren't great. The women pick the tea, and they can start as young as 12 years of age.
And they're mostly Tamils, aren't they?
Exactly.
Or
So
from Tamil
the
Nadu.
tea industry was introduced in 1867 by a British planter called James Taylor. Sinhalese people were reluctant to work on the tea plantations for the poor wages that were offered. So this led to encouragement of immigration of Indian Tamils. They were a bit more prepared to accept the low wages and poor conditions. They live in sort of cramped dormitory style accommodation.
Workers' quarters, aren't they? Yeah.
The women have to pick at least 16 kilos of tea leaves every day. There are some men that work there too. They operate the machineries, but of course the men have shorter working hours and are paid more.
This is Mackwoods, and I suppose they just pick their noses, don't they, the males? So in Nuwara Eliya, here we came to an indoor market.
Yeah.
So dripping with fantastic veggies and fruits,
and
of
some
course
rather alarming looking butcher shops as well.
Oh,
that
yes,
we didn't
yeah,
photograph,
yeah.
but the spices were much more beautiful.
spices amazing, yeah. So
and abundant.
plentiful.
So you think these are tamarillos?
I think so.
Okay, maybe they are.
Maybe
I'm
they
not
are.
sure. A beautiful waterfall.
So this is a place called Ella Gap, and Ella
Obviously
is a
there's
bit
got
of
a lot of rainfall.
a bit of a hippie village that hippies get, or young people go and stay in. And you get to the edge of this plateau, the mountains, and you just drive off the edge, and it's a hell of a drive down to the plains in the south east and Yala National Park.
Yala.
Where we're
So
ending up.
Yala is the second largest and most visited national park in
It's
Sri
huge,
Lanka.
isn't it?
It's almost 1,000 square kilometres.
Wow!
You can't visit all of it. There are these different sort of areas in it, or blocks.
And look at this.
Very
bad
famous
boy.
for its leopards.
We had such a good sighting, you and I.
Oh, they're beautiful.
There were 2 leopards getting up to a little bit of hanky-panky in the bushes. And,
They're obviously very fond of each other.
well, they were. Look, he's licking his lips. Children, turn away from the screen right now. So this was amazing.
When he's just a random wild elephant.
Well, some of the elephants have learnt that humans give them food. And so that's why they stand on this road. And you can see the
Very
driver is
sensible.
going to give him a peanut or something.
All that
I
effort for
guess.
one peanut.
Yeah, but it depends on the amount of traffic. But,
So you can see the depigmentation on
yeah.
the ears there.
Yeah, here's another elephant that's...
Yeah.
So it's not a good way to go because...
No, it puts them at in danger.
It will do. They'll get hit. They'll get... But as you say, if
And
the
somebody
death
will give them
penalty
a plastic bag.
is applicable to people who kill them. So this is where the track going into Yala National Park. Here we are at about 5:30 or
wild
6 in the
boar.
morning. And some wild pigs at the
Doing
entrance
a bit
gate.
of gardening.
And I filmed this because look at the mess they've made of the... I suppose instead of getting a cultivator, a rotavator, you could just get a couple of
So I
pigs.
suppose they're eating the roots of the grass,
Yeah, they're
aren't
snuffling
they?
underneath or I don't know.
There were some beautiful birds there.
Some
and
fantastic
abundance
birds,
of
yeah.
them.
So here was a little rookery. Is it a rookery of
Yes.
pelicans? They've got to be. What's the collective known for?
I'm not sure.
A group of pelicans. This is the pond heron. I know that's a pond heron, but a black bird. It could be a regular cormorant or a little cormorant
Or a middle-sized
or a middle-sized. You need to line them up to see them. Rose-ringed parakeets. Stunning, absolutely stunning. The sort of thing that you'd see in Europe in a cage, I suppose. This is a great egret. Great egret, because it's quite a big egret.
Yes, I believe egrets usually have yellow bills. Is that
They
not
do,
right?
but this is the breeding season, and so their bills go black. I don't know why, but it's obviously
much more attractive to the lady egrets.
possibly to female egrets.
Yeah.
It's having a whale of a time in here looking for prawns. Is that a double I don't know. And this is a very confusing bird. This is a crested hawk eagle, which is also called a changeable hawk eagle. And if you look at Wikipedia, it's got 3 or 4 other names as well. So it is very confusing.
It's got a lot of aliases.
It's got a lot of aliases. It's known to the police, and
It's got a colourful past.
Its youth is quite white. The youthful version, the young versions. It's a medium-sized raptor.
Bee eater.
So these are chestnut-headed bee eaters, and you can see massive amounts of bee eaters in Sri Lanka. They're so beautiful.
They're such lovely birds and so good at posing.
But they're very fast. Once they go off, boom, they're gone. And then a couple of times I've been annoyed going, I've just missed it. And then bang, half a second later it's back.
So
What's
here's
this?
a sloth bear. Now sloth bears are very
bears.
interesting. They're native to India, Nepal and Sri Lanka. The ones in Sri Lanka are a little bit smaller. The males get up to 75
He's got a
kilos.
hurt
He's
paw.
got a sore paw. Now they look a bit fierce. But mainly they eat insects and they're fitted for that purpose because they have a long lower lip which enables them to suck lots of insects up, and they have long sickle-shaped claws that allow them to dig into
This one's got massive claws.
mines.
They're dangerous.
Well, they can attack humans.
Yeah.
They're not man-eaters, but if humans get in the way, they can attack them and gnaw on them.
Oof.
Yeah.
So this is an Indian peafowl, which a lot of people call a peacock.
Well, the male one's a peacock.
Male is a peacock. The female is called a
Peahen.
and this is a peafowl. This is the young one.
This is a young male, I think.
And the
females are more brown.
They roost in trees, which is
It's
just
hilarious
bizarre.
to see them.
It's
And they're
bizarre.
very noisy and quite aggressive.
Yeah, and make very good guard dogs apparently, because they
Yeah.
don't get rabies in. If you had a guard dog, it would get rabies. So you see these sort of up a tree, and here's a male peacock
Displaying.
showing off to the local girls, and
Here's the end result.
he's obviously got lucky. So I was told at the time that they'd never seen these two mating like that.
So
that
this
was
is a
quite
spotted or axis deer.
Axis deer.
They're beautiful little things. And here's a mongoose.
He's a ruddy mongoose.
He's cute.
He's very cute, and they're all over the parks. They've got some pretty savage-looking teeth.
So they kill snakes, don't they?
They do. Yes,
and there are quite a lot of snakes. We didn't really see
There
many
are,
snakes.
yes. And here's that crested geezer again,
Oh, it's lovely.
looking very sort of very sort of serious, and loads of macaques around the place. Here's a lovely hoopoo,
Oh, yes.
which I believe that
A
when
migratory bird.
it is, and occasionally they get spotted in England, and they stop the press when that happens.
Pigeon.
Lovely little wood pigeon, and of course some
More
elephants.
elephants.
I don't think you go to Yala for elephants, really, do you? I mean,
No,
most people go for the
leopards.
leopard, or the ugliest
So what are
bird
these
on the planet
birds?
called marabou storks.
Marabou
Yeah,
storks. That's quite an attractive.
he's a grey lango, isn't he? He's one of the three types of ape that they have in Sri Lanka. They're also called Hanuman langurs.
Okay.
And there's a green bee eater,
Another
and
deer.
more deer.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, he's very
So
cute. This is a
they
very
are-
cute deer.
So the deer are.
So it's a barbet. It's a crimson-fronted barbet.
I was just going to say that the leopards eat the deer. That's the main.
Oh, do they?
The main food of the.
I did read
leopards.
there was a woman who went to the toilet in Yala in the bush, and she
Yes.
got killed.
I did hear that. That was when we were on our trip.
That's right.
The guide told us this is a pied kingfisher.
She got killed because there's a temple in the park.
Yes, people go on pilgrimages.
And they go, she went and she caught short, went for a pee, and that was the last thing they saw of her. Okay, here's a whistling duck.
Did you hear it whistle?
No, I didn't hear it whistle.
That's just a nice bird.
It's honey buzzard.
It's a sort of bird of prey as well, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. So a medium-sized sort of death machine, really.
Or is it a
For little
scavenger?
birds.
Does it eat
No,
carrion?
it'll go for small birds.
And this is the unidentified mystery bird.
This is mystery bird, yeah.
Okay.
Followed by the crested hawk eagle again.
It's quite a crest.
It's quite a bit of a statement, isn't it? So pond herons are everywhere in these wetlands, as you'd expect. And we saw a lot of these Malabar pied hornbills, which are spectacular.
Stunning.
Absolutely spectacular.
Pipit.
This is a pipit. I'm not sure if it's Blythe's or whether it's a paddy field pipit, because they're very common.
Was it in a paddy field?
Well, no, it's sitting on a rock.
Look, here's a chook.
Here's a chook. This is a jungle fowl,
Stunning.
which is the originator, I suppose, of chooks.
Yeah. Sunbird.
A purple rump.
He's not showing us his rump.
No, but after exhaustive research, he turned out to be purple
Another
rumped
of these beautiful bee eaters.
bee eaters.
Now, there's a lot of buffalo in Sri Lanka, and quite a lot of them are domesticated.
Mostly
but there
domesticated,
are some wild ones which are endangered, and they're in the national park.
Yep.
Nice little bird.
Yeah. So generally, they're Asian tractors. They're used as for ploughing paddy fields and
Scaly-breasted munia. You never missed it.
And here's another hawk eagle. This is a
This is
junior.
a juvenile. That's why
Juvenile,
it's all white.
yeah. It's off to
There's
smash
one
up.
of the snakes.
Vine snakes.
Oh,
I don't really want to meet one of those in my tent.
Looks like there's been a flood.
So Yala has a number of these sort of flooded areas which are very pretty, and they have swarming butterflies. Occasionally, here's a blue-tailed bee-eater, which is just stunning.
A spoonbill.
Eurasian spoonbill, yeah, beautiful creature, and they just scoop up all the goodies. Another look, as you said, this looks a little bit like Menindee Lakes in Australia, but it's not.
Oh, here's another national park.
So if you're going around the bottom of Sri Lanka, you want to go to Udawalaway, which is another massive park. This was created because they built this vast dam and a massive lake, and so they created 30,000 hectares of parkland or national park to accommodate all the animals that were sort of displaced, I suppose, by the water. So these accommodate a lot of elephants that come down from Nuwara, I believe. And it's getting harder and harder for them to do that because, of course, humans...
Habitat loss.
People don't like them walking through their field of corn.
Cauliflowers.
Or cauliflowers, yeah.
Apparently you're not allowed to shout.
No shouting in the park. I found that quite surprising. So there were a lot of wetlands, a lot of wet areas, which was nice. This is a bee eater.
What's he eating?
He's eating a bee.
No.
This is one of my proud pictures of a bee eater eating a bee.
Sweet little elephant.
And he was just hanging about by the road.
No.
So there were a number of families of elephants that we saw at the time, very pretty. He was just on his own. He was quite on his own, and he was, don't know why. Here's the family having a bath. There's some nice chocolate Zambezi flavoured water going on the back there. I think it's good for their skin, isn't it? It keeps the ticks down.
Cool, I suppose.
Keeps them cool.
There's a grey heron having a snack.
I think you got a frog. Another pond heron in a pond.
As advertised.
As advertised. Here's a pond heron, not in a pond. So Udawalaway is very good for these muggers.
Very sinister looking things.
Very sinister.
So they're a little bit smaller than our saltwater crocodiles.
They are much smaller, but still very dangerous.
It's a lovely pelican.
And here's a grey pelican. There weren't too many of those. I think they're actually getting to the point of being endangered. Yeah, not good. But you see a lot of these fellas, little wading birds like stilts. Here's the paddy-filled pipit. So I suppose it's a little bit like a sparrow in Europe, really, fairly common.
Another bee eater.
And this is the blue tail. You can see because it's got a very pointy tail.
Very long.
But again, some more waterways, which provide fantastic perches for raptors and everything else. Another little family of elephants.
Yes, gorgeous.
They're very cute. They're quite pink in their ears, aren't they? They're really quite pink, and that's not
delicate ears.
It's not Photoshop that's making a mistake there. Yeah, it's very good. And here was a lunch spot.
There's plenty of water.
A lot of water coming down this, and a lot of birds and stuff because the place was alive with tweeting. Could you get a picture of it? Absolutely not, because they're all
There's one.
about that size, but they're 400 metres away. So occasionally you could get close to these
Very
birds.
elegant little birds.
Wood sandpiper in the mud. Or maybe stuck in the mud. He's a bit stuck in the mud.
This
perhaps.
is a beautiful bird.
Isn't that amazing? That's a golden oriole, or Indian golden oriole.
And here we are on the beach.
So West Coast Sri Lanka, this is why people come to Sri Lanka. They want to sit on the beach. I mean, large Russians come to Sri Lanka. Or they come for a lesson in morals in a local Buddhist...
So this is attached to a Buddhist temple, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they have a series of cartoon-like displays.
What's this guy done wrong?
Cautionary tales of what can happen to you, the punishment that awaits you in the afterlife if you don't live a good life.
Yeah, if you look at that woman over there, I'll slash your feet with a razor blade. That seems fairly fair. Here's the guy who's probably running the show.
He's the god of the underworld, I think, and he's handing out the punishments. He's not a very attractive looking person.
No, and he needs his teeth cleaned. He's got a wasp nest or something growing in his teeth. What do you think this guy's done? What has he done?
I don't know, but it must have been pretty bad.
Whatever it was, he's not going to do it again.
No, there's a handsome man.
I know. I'm just a bit shocked, and I'm going to beat a hasty retreat out of there.
So then we went to Galle. Galle is a city on the southwest coast of Sri Lanka, and it's best known for Galle Fort, which is the old Portuguese fortified city which was founded in the 16th century and then later expanded by the Dutch in the 17th century. So it's got unusual looking architecture for Sri Lanka. It's more European, so Dutch and Portuguese and English. It's largely car free, which was a pleasant change.
Very pleasant to walk around, isn't it?
Yeah. It has apparently elsewhere in Galle, it has a large cricket ground which was destroyed in the Boxing Day tsunami, but it has been rebuilt because they love cricket. Some brilliant looking buildings,
beautiful architecture,
very unusual and friendly people.
The 3 people who are running the local gas station.
Yeah.
And it's a tidy little town. I mean, you can walk around it in half a day. It's no problem.
So it's again UNESCO
World
protected
Heritage,
and
World Heritage.
largely for tourists. But it was a nice place.
They've got a very nice old traditional bar. Here's an Art Deco hotel.
We stayed
stunning.
in an old converted cinnamon factory, didn't we? It
Smelt a bit, didn't it?
It smelled
Smelt
lovely.
of cinnamon.
It smelled of cinnamon.
And here's a local beach in Galle. So they're pretty good beaches. They're not as good as the ones further up the coast, but
all the ones in Australia.
All the ones in Australia, but
lots of fish.
Lots of fish. So you see fish markets occasionally along the way. And
big ones and small ones.
Big ones and small ones, yeah. And lots of prawns and shrimp and mackerel and little baby tuna, I suppose, or barracuda. I'm not sure what they are.
I think they're mackerel. I don't know.
Mackerel, are they? Yeah. But they end up on the restaurant menu, whatever.
Selfies. A big thing in every culture.
Yeah, yeah. And here's
this
a wedding.
Is wedding.
That's a wedding selfie. That's a wedding shoot. So the guy's holding a speed light.
This is an old Dutch church, isn't it?
The old Dutch church, yeah. The old
lovely.
Dutch church. So Galle is just full of that historical architecture and colonial history.
Very elegant.
And here's a late evening scene. Lots of birds.
It was a lovely
around.
place to stroll around.
It was brilliant. Yeah, really good spot.
Good food and nice.
And good accommodation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we going now?
Well, we seem to have come across some more elephants.
More elephants.
This is the orphanage.
This is another elephant orphanage that's near Galle, and you can just pop out there and you sit in a sort of stadium and watch all these little babies coming in for their feeding time. And these are orphaned animals, and you can see here's one. They will suck that bottle dry in about half a minute. They're absolutely
a bit fuzzy.
Well, they're pretty hungry.
No, I said fuzzy.
Fuzzy. Well, they're also fuzzy, yeah.
So here's a sign letting you know how dangerous peacocks are.
And that's on the freeway. Yeah.
So then we went to this place, which is the home of Sri Lanka's most famous architect, who was one of the founders of the Tropical Modernism School of Architecture, which focused on blending the inside and the outside. He built some very important buildings, including the Sri Lankan Parliament, one of the universities, and a very nice hotel we stayed in earlier called the Heritage Candelama.
In Dambulla.
Yeah. So this was his own home, which he built on an abandoned rubber estate that he'd bought. And there's a series of different pavilions and beautiful
fruit and trees.
And you can now stay there. It's a boutique hotel.
I think they've got 8 rooms or 7 rooms or something, yeah. And we had lunch there in a sort of restaurant, vegetarian lunch.
Walking around the rolling...
or rolling around
gardens.
the walking tracks, yes. It was a very good lunch. And on the way back to Colombo, you can stop off at this place called Richmond Castle, which was built in 1898.
It's pretty grand.
An amazing sort of palatial place, owned by a man called Don Arthur de Silva, Vijay Singha Sriwardana. It's now an orphanage, but his father was a planter, and he essentially copied the plans of a palace from India and built it here. But he got married, and his marriage was childless, and he died a very sad man and abandoned. He went and lived in a hotel in Kalutra, I think, or in Colombo, and he died, and the palace was left.
So it's just abandoned.
It's abandoned, and it's now an orphanage. So that brings us to the end of our sojourn around Sri Lanka.
Interesting.
Fantastic country, wonderful food, brilliant animals and bird life.
So
very pleasant people, very happy people that we met.
They have a hard life, though.
They have a hard life, yeah, but a very good destination for travellers.
Okay, bye
See you in the next one.
See you next time.
Bye for now.